All right. 3, 2, 1, and we are on. Let's make sure the audio is working. Thank you for coming, everyone. Oh, wait, there are no TVs here. Let's add the TV real quick. All right, let's go. We are on. And hey, where'd that come from? There we go, much better. Okay, so I am going solo today and just double checking that you all can hear me. Great. We have the TCL X11L on the left. Audio is breaking up. See? And I was testing it and it was working fine just a minute ago. 1 second. This always happens. It works great, and then when it goes into a live stream, the audio just breaks up. So I'm going to give it a pause to make sure the audio is good to go. Double checking. Okay, so at least there's audio, but it's breaking up. So this is very aggravating. 1 second here. Let me try to replug the audio into directly into the laptop. So give me a break. 1 second, guys. Okay, so I'm going through my AirPods. Let's compare. Is the AirPods better? Would you rather hear me through my AirPods, or this is the wireless DJI Mic 3? Checking, checking. Which do you guys prefer? Does it sound better through the AirPods? I'm going through the Mic 3, the DJI Mic 3 right now. If it sounds better through the AirPods, I'll switch over. AirPods are better? All right. Who wins today? All right, let's do this. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys all the settings and everything, and we will then compare them. There is no bias here, right? Just because TCL and Sony are partnering up, I have no rooting interest. I love both of these TVs, by the way. So let's do real quick. We'll start with the TCL, right? What are the settings we're using? And picture settings. And just to make it easy, restore defaults. Okay, now this is default. What I did do is change it to Filmmaker mode, and so you'll see what the default is. Brightness at 50 is way too dim for HDR, so we'll go to 100. So that's another thing. When you restore default or you turn your TV, automatically it starts at 50. It shouldn't be 50 if you're watching HDR. It should be 100. So we're at 100. Gamma 2.2 is the most accurate mode. And we're in a semi-ambient room, as you can see, right? I'll turn up the gamma on my camera real quick so you can see how bright it is in here. And everything else we'll leave as is. Keep dynamic tone mapping off, please. This TV is so bright, it doesn't need tone mapping. You can play with it. Like, hey, this image looks kind of funky. Maybe you want to turn it on, but for this comparison, I will leave it off. Everything else is good. Peak brightness, gotta go high. Actually, I'll give it boost, whatever that means. I don't think boost makes a difference, but we'll leave it up. Local contrast is on high. Yep, yep. Okay. Okay, I think that is good to go. Color. Color, warm 5, that's fine. Keep all this stuff off. Dynamic color, adaptive color, temperature is off. Color space, I'll leave on auto. Okay, so here we are with that. On the Sony, we'll do the same. It's audio. Oh, the audio is still glitching. Okay, let me, I'm gonna blame YouTube because I tested the audio earlier. Let's try. All right, we'll continue with the DJI for a few minutes and see how that works. Okay, so reset picture settings for professionals, same thing, right? So reset to default, yes. All right, and this is the default setting for the Sony. Gradation preferred, brightness is max, and I'll leave auto local dimming on medium, peak luminance high, color expert 1, all that live color craziness is off. And on the far right hand corner is the BVM 3110. That's already been calibrated. So as you can see, restoring defaults. Neither of these TVs are calibrated. out of the box in Filmmaker mode. Better, just not as loud. Hey, all right. I can make it louder. 1 second. All right, is that louder? Is that better? Louder, louder. Okay, I turned up the microphone, just checking. Is that loud enough, guys? Loud enough, loud enough, loud enough. Check, check, how loud is that? Yeah, Jennifer, you know what? I think it was my splitter. Okay, I think audio is good. You got the settings all on default. Only BVM3110 is calibrated. Let's do it. Oh, wait, where's this content coming from? Our good friend Jennifer Gala. Yes, this is her stuff. If you guys want to check out HDR content, that is what I think reference level to test this stuff. This is it. So let's do this. Now, this is 2000 nits peak brightness. The BVM3110 can easily hit 2000 nits peak brightness. Use the BVM as the reference for brightness. Color on these TVs may differ slightly also because of my sensor. So if I see any differences, I'll tell you, but I'm looking at the monitor and it looks like they're very similar, except the X11L is slightly brighter. So I'm gonna go back to that ant real quick, because I think, here we go. And let me double check. Yes, the BVM is on max brightness as well. So if you have any question as to, wait a minute, why does it look brighter? I'll look at the TVs and I'll tell you that at 2000 nits with the head of the ant, the X11L more closely matches the brightness of the BVM. The colors are all there. It's just the Bravia 9 is slightly less bright, so it looks more saturated, but it really isn't. It's just because it's so much brighter, it feels saturated. So if I increase, there you go. Okay, let's continue with that. So I'll try to share with you my observations, and I am so impressed by the X11L. That's not to say the Bravia 9 is quote unquote a bad TV. It's just the X11L for HDR brightness really ups the game, but here's the key. Having this BT2020, even though Jennifer's content, you know, as you saw in the title, she's trying to get some BT2020 material, I'll tell you, oh, this is great. The Sony doesn't feel like it has any less color, and that's critical because that's one of the big things that people are saying, hey, you gotta have BT2020 on these new RGB TVs. So here we have the X11L with SQD, right, super quantum dots, and it's supposed to have 100% or close to it BT2020, and yet, looking at the two images, I don't sense that the Sony is behind at all in that color saturation. Maybe the color luminance. The X11L preserves the colors while going brighter, and it's definitely impactful. But the one thing about the X11L that's interesting is if I hit a static image like this, it dims after 30 seconds. So that's just something that you guys will notice. I can't keep it static too long. It's acting like an OLED, right? But like, oh, this is a great one right here. So many of you will say, oh, but the Sony has more color saturation. No, it's because it's so bright, I need to turn down the exposure. You see that? The color saturation on the X11L, similar to the Sony, it's just so bright that it's overexposing on my camera. And that's how much brighter it is than the Sony, and maybe even slightly brighter than the BVM3110. So that's another thing, right? Is it looks like at the highest highlights, it may be a touch brighter than reference. Now, does it matter to you guys? I don't think so. Now, for those of you who are cinephiles that you want exactly the creator's intent, you may need to, I'd say, calibrate it, but even then, if it doesn't follow the EOTF curve, it may not lower that brightness without a firmware update, but that's just an FYI for you guys. It looks like the BVM3110 and the Sony Bravia 9, their color saturation is matching for the similar brightness, but the X11L just a touch brighter out of the box. So this is pretty crazy that out of the box, the X11L is, yeah, it's flexing, and I don't think it's flexing in a way that you guys expect. It's taking all that color and just making it slightly brighter.
because just look at the BVM as the reference to whether the Sony is getting bright enough. And I'm going to double check that I did not lower the brightness on the BVM, because I'm like, wait, this BVM, is it at max brightness? It is. So it's at the reference brightness. So if the content is at 2000 nits, it's going to show it. Balance the exposure and strike a pose. I love that. Okay, let me check some of your chats real quick, guys. Here we go. Okay, so if you have any questions, just throw it out there. But I just wanted to show you the reason why people get the X11L. And I'm going to open up the exposure a bit so you guys can see if there's blooming or anything like that, right? And right now, I'll tell you, I believe that TCL on the X11L definitely has addressed some of the blooming issues that were on possibly last year's TV in some scenes, right? Oh, this is a great one. The contrast on the X11L is insane. Sony obviously has always been great at the 65-inch size. Many of you are arguing, wait, where's the 85-inch? I don't have it, right? I've only gotten the 65-inch from, let's do a real quick love fest for our sponsor today, Robert at Value Electronics. So Robert carries both TVs, the Sony Bravia 9 and the TCL X11L at all the sizes that are available. But now that the Sony Bravia 9 is literally 2 years old, right? It came out as a 2024 model. It rolled over in 2025. Now we're in 2026, and finally the prices are where they should be. This is a phenomenal TV. The question is whether the Bravia 9 has finally lost its crown to the X11L. So with that in mind, let me play this lovely promo video from our good friends at Value Electronics. So take it away, Robert. I just love this. Here we go.
Stop the FOMO, because Value Electronics has everything you need to build the man cave of your dreams. I've bought my gear from Robert Zone at Value Electronics since the very start of this channel. I've bought several flagship TVs from Robert, asking him to make sure they were fully quality controlled and calibrated before delivery. And when it comes time to get your end game setup with a 98-inch display, in-wall speakers, an SVS Ultra sub, and Sony's flagship receiver, Robert helped me go all in. Even if you're not ready for the ultimate home theater experience, Value Electronics can still set you up with the best TV for you from Sony, LG, Samsung, Hisense, TCL at any size. Yes, even 116 inches if you want it. And if you tell them FOMO sent you, more goodies. So yeah, stop the FOMO and check out Value Electronics today.
And we're back. All right. Thanks again, Robert Zahn. Give them a call. Any questions about either TVs, they ship, and most importantly, they'll calibrate the TV. So if you see my comparison is not quite close enough to the reference monitor, Robert will take care of it, and he will also QC, quality control the TV to make sure when you get it, everything is good to go, because if it isn't, he'll replace it on the spot at his store. All right, let's get into these comparisons and resume the magic that is Jennifer Gala. And I will play with the exposure so that you guys can see accurately what's happening, right? Yeah, here we go. I'm really lowering the exposure here. Oh, this is a good one. So this is definitely, if there's to be BT 2020 popping, this would be it. And they all look great. Very similar and very comparable to the BVM. And again, my sensor may not capture all the colors of both TVs, because each TV is going to have a slight hypersensitivity to the sensor. So on the TCL, reds might be just a touch richer than on the Sony, but that's not because the Sony is less accurate or the TCL is less accurate. It's just how my sensor is. So listen to what I say, but you can trust kind of the brightness differences, because at least that is pretty comparable in terms of both TVs and the sensitivity of my sensor, right? So let me turn it up so you guys can see a bit more. of the shadow detail. And oops, oh, that was already bright. Okay, so if I turn it all the way up, here we go. Okay, right? Great black levels. All you see are reflections in front of the TV. Take it back down. I mean, it's sad that you have to go flagship to get to this level of performance on the TCL, but you're trying to get a flagship performance to match the Bravia, right? And it's doing it. It's doing it pretty good. The contrast on both is phenomenal. Really well done. I love this content right here that Jennifer made for us. This is so good. Here we go. So normally something that bright, you're gonna have some blooming issues. So let's turn up the exposure a touch, right? To see. And yep, there is just a touch. If I hyperexpose it, it appears that maybe the X11L maybe blooming a touch more than the Bravia 9 around her hair, maybe, right? But it is a little bit brighter. So that hair above her head is a touch brighter than on the Sony. And so as a result, it's letting it go a bit, whereas, oh, well, now that it's dimmed, you can see the blooming disappears. The Sony is doing a really good job balancing the dimming zones against what it would be afraid is blooming. But it's only noticeable because I'm hyperexposing it for you guys in real content. So we'll let this thing play out. It's not noticeable. There we go. Turn that down. Like, I am just shocked that the color accuracy of the TCL is so good. In the past, you'd really have to calibrate the TCL to get it to get this close to the BVM and the Sony. But now, out of the box, you guys saw it, right? Out of the box, I'm gonna go back to that last one because her skin tones, Jennifer gave her rich, there we go. All right, so I'm gonna lower that exposure a bit more. Yep, definitely the TCL is a bit brighter than reference, but look at the colors that are there, right? Very similar. Now, for most of you, without a reference next to it, you'll go and you'll look at this and you'll go, oh, hey, I love it. I'll bring it home. Those of you who want to have reference brightness, definitely you're gonna have to ask the calibration team to get it down to reference, or you could bring brightness down. I mean, that's the easy fix, right? So we can do that right now. It's just normally at a 100, it should be reference. But if you want to, you could always lower the brightness. With this remote control, you have the brightness function right on it. There we go, right? This remote has a brightness function on the side. And if you take it down, is it matching yet? So at 36, I mean, this is how much headroom it has, right? So it matches the Sony at around 26 to 30. That's if you want it close to what the Sony's doing. But if you're in a brighter room, you can max it out. So it definitely, you're gonna have to take the brightness down to below 40, let's say, to get similar to what the BVM the Sony is doing. But in this one, they're very similar. The TCL isn't more bright than the other two. So I guess it depends on the scene. Then if you go too dim, obviously you might have to increase the brightness again. So this is one of the things a lot of people say, well, get a Sony because you don't have to touch the settings, which is true. There you go. All right, let's answer some questions real quick. This is not RGB Mini LED. No, this is SQD. It's quantum dot next generation, and it is not RGB. As a matter of fact, TCL will be selling an RGB Mini LED, but this is their better TV. They've advised us that they felt this performs better than RGB Mini LED, but they'll sell it if you want that. Whereas Hisense is all in an RGB Mini LED. Hisense feels that, ooh, stop right there. So you guys can see. There we go. Oh, when that lizard pops up again, I'll pause it. Sometimes I just don't move fast enough. So yes, consider, there we go. Okay, so as you can see, the TCL, very bright in the scene, and it's not blown out. See that? All the colors there, right? If I lower the exposure, it's all the colors there. It's just, man, this thing pops. It just, woo! Yeah, it's telling you, hey, you want HDR? I'll give you HDR, and there you have it. But again, all the colors there, right? But it is just, there's no way around it. This TV is flexing its 10,000 nits. And that was the complaint I had about the QM9K. I'm like, wait, you have 6,000 nits? Why is it dimmer than the Bravia 9? Not happening here. They are definitely flexing their brightness. Oh, this lizard is really, I think when it sees blue, it loves to flex that brightness, right? So all the colors there, but that's how much brighter it is than reference or the Sony. I mean, that's the relative brightness. And it just, but the colors are all there, right? Look at that. I hate to say it, I love it. Just because I have the reference. I go, oh, it's not reference. But if I just want this TV, I know one, the color is accurate, and two, and we're gonna do Netflix, so you guys can see for yourself what skin tone looks like on Netflix. But I just want to show you that having BT 2020, even with a source that's doing BT 2020, I don't see a difference other than the TCL is, oh, look at this one. And I know, right? You're going through YouTube compression, being converted to Rec 709 through my camera, through my laptop up to YouTube. But believe me when I say it's, the colors are indistinguishable other than the TCL's brighter. So the color luminance is pumped up, but the colors themselves, the actual colors, I do not see a difference. Maybe, arguably, the brighter colors make it feel like it's a different color because it's brighter, but the colors are they're pretty consistent, right? And now that it's dimmed down a bit for you guys, oh look, right? And now suddenly the TCL matches nearly the other TVs, right? But yeah, I think BT 2020 is overhyped. So all the TVs that are saying, oh, we got BT 2020, RGB MiniLED, that's no bueno. Now, remember, this HDR content is 2000 nits. You will not find 2000 nit content anywhere on Netflix or Disney or Prime. So we will jump into Netflix where the content is like a few hundred nits and peak brightness at best. Does the TCL over brighten that content as well? We're going to explore some of the shadow detail scenes from Frankenstein and Witcher, right? Very common. And we'll do some anime. I found some anime for you guys. And gaming. I have my PS5 plugged into the TCL. So you guys can see if I notice any of that motion artifacts that our good friend Display Guy, I know him very well. He complained to me, oh my God, what is with this motion issue, right? And I said, okay, well, let me see, because it's possible that it's unique to the 98 inch, or maybe it's a panel to panel issue. So we'll see if it affects my 85 inch. All right, so let's answer some questions real quick here. Robert, hey, thank you, buddy. Robert Conrad, I think he's a proud owner of a Sony TV. That TCL is awesome looking. I completely agree. On Jennifer's content where she's grading for BT 2020, it's killing it. And the color accuracy is it's just brighter, but it's just there. Oh, now we go to 2,000 to 5,000 nits. So this is when it's gonna flex. Okay, can't wait to see TCL and Sony's babies when they mate. Yes, if you guys haven't heard the news, TCL will become 51% owner of Sony's home entertainment division beginning in 2027, but it'll be official by the end of March. If no one objects, regulators in Japan and whatever agree to it all, they'll sign the contract by the end of March, and then it's official. TCL will be the 51% partner of this JV, where TCL will be in charge of design, manufacture, and support of all Sony Bravia TVs and soundbars and related moving forward. So that's going to be pretty exciting that Sony now has access to all the best from TCL, which right now is SQD. This SQD thing is just phenomenal. And so now that we're at 2,000 to 5,000 nits, it feels like the TCL Yes, the TCL is now matching the reference as it gets brighter, and the Sony's falling behind. There you have it. If ever HDR comes about. Now, here's the good news for you guys wondering when the Dolby Vision 2 content will come out. The TCL X11L has Dolby Vision 2 ready to go. Once the content comes out that upmixes, upscales, upmaps the brightness to what your TV is capable of, everything is going to look super, I hope, in theory, super punchy, vivid for HDR fans, right? I mean, if you want HDR pop, this TV is really doing it for me. Okay, and got another super chat here. Oh, Robert again. Thank you, my friend. Can't wait to see the TCL against the G6. Ah, yes. We will get the G6. We will see how that goes, no doubt. Sony Bravia 9, old and busted. TCL X11L, the new hotness. I'll tell you this. I told my buddies at Sony, I said, hey, this thing is really awesome. And they're like, dude, it's a 2-year-old TV. Move on. Wait until you see our 2026 TV. We're not even going to comment because TCL better beat the Bravia 9. I'm like, all right. You know, that's a mic drop from Sony right there. They're not surprised. And they're like, let's see what they can do when we bring out our TVs. All right. All right, here we go. 85-inch QM8K for $1699 or 77-inch C6 for $1699 plus tax. So you're asking LCD TV, slightly larger versus OLED. The sizes are so similar. I would still stick with the 77-inch. The better comparison is 77C6 or 98-inch QM7K or 98-inch QM6K. That's around that price, right? I think 98-inch QM6K is around $1699 right now. That makes a bigger difference. But if you're a gamer, you can't touch the C6 for gaming. That's going to be an amazing gaming TV. But again, how close you're sitting to the TV, if you're more than 7-8 feet away, let's say you're more than 8 feet away, if you're more than 8 feet, I think the 98-inch immersion is really hard to replace. It really is. I'm looking for a 55-inch TV for my bedroom. UK, max price, £800. Definitely look at the Hisense or the TCL. That will get you a solid MiniLED 55-inch TV from either Hisense or TCL at £800, right? Or 800 euros, 800 pounds. That's approximately $800 to $900 in the US, right? Similar type of TVs you'll have available to you. At that price point, Samsung, LG, and Sony compromise on a lot of features and image performance specs. I find the Hisense and TCL at under 800 pounds or $800 or 800 euros really hit the spot, and 55-inch gets you some good ones at that price. Now, unless if it's bedroom, you might be able to get a 55-inch LG B5. I don't know how discounted they are. For the bedroom, I would get the 55-inch LG B5. That one I would actually do. But if you want it to be a bit HDR impact, or if you're gaming, I'd also take the B5. So let me know how expensive the B5 is in England. Yeah. Here we go. Will the X11L be able to play IMAX DTS-X from Dolby Vision or from Dolby Digital Plus or Disney Plus? Okay, Disney Plus. I don't know. If Bruce is here, he will let you know. Now, Bruce has all of the TCL specs, but whether or not it does IMAX, let me ask you about the relevance. If it's coming out of your TV, you're not going to notice the difference, honestly, because IMAX coming from your TV, whether it's to your AVR or to whatever, first of all, it's lossy, so you're not getting lossless anyway, and more importantly, IMAX DTS-X, the biggest difference between that and just Dolby Vision immersive or Dolby Atmos is IMAX pumps up the bass. You could do that in the EQ. IMAX also pumps up the surrounds. You could also do that in the EQ. And IMAX kind of raises the higher frequencies a touch so you have more of that surround effect. You could also do that in EQ, especially in the AVR. But again, I know some of you love DTSX, so it's what it is. So Bruce, if you're here, does it pass through DTSX? Now, if you don't have a soundbar, you're not planning to have it pass through to your AVR, the TV, you cannot tell the difference between IMAX audio and Dolby audio. Coming from a TV, honestly, it's all the same. You'll have an easier time just, here we go, let me see, is this? You'll have an easier time just going to the EQ and, again, Jennifer Gala, thank you, going to the EQ and then playing with the quote unquote sub or the equalizer to get that IMAX effect, because that's all it is, right? It's a slightly different equalizer. Ooh, man, wow, that's popping. Very much popping. Okay, let's get those super chats out of the way real quick. And I see your super chat, Ignacio, but I don't see your question. So go ahead, keep on asking it. I'm sure I'm gonna catch it. Okay, so this is a good point, June. With the Sony TCL deal, it doesn't say that Sony will allow TCL to use their processing though. So the details of the deal, the actual nuts and bolts, we really don't know. We just know, and you guys could think this through yourself, right? If the Sony name, we're talking Sony Bravia, is going to continue to be out in the public, does it make sense for Sony not to make that the best TV possible, even though they're not making it anymore and they're just going to get a cut of the profits? It would make sense to me if Sony lent a helping hand with all the processing. And then you look at TCL, what do they get out of it? They're doing all the work, they're footing all the cost, all the risk, right? If they don't get Sony's processing algorithm / whatever hardware it takes to make the TVs awesome, they have no benefits. Like, then we're just going to sell a crappy TV that's called a Sony Bravia 9. Sony, you look bad, and we look bad because everyone knows we made it, and no one's going to buy it. We lose money. You guys shifted the entire production process to us. So, wow, man, this thing is bright, right? Woo! So I think logically, you would think that TCL would not do the deal unless Sony processing is on the table. But again, I wait to be corrected on that, but you're right, it wasn't specific. So, but it would not make sense if Sony did not share all of their magic sauce now that they've walked away from just TV manufacturing altogether. All right. So let me see how far in we are. Okay, 30 minutes in. I think you guys have an idea of the ceiling in terms of performance. This TV is bright, maybe slightly too bright from accuracy, but the color is all there, not off. Whether it's off or not, let's look at the skin tones. I think that will be more indicative because, these are like bright bugs and lizards and anime type people, right? So let's look at, let's see. So here we are in Netflix. Let me turn this up a bit. Okay. And I got a couple of select scenes for you guys. Let's see. Skin tones. Actually, let's do Witcher. And excuse me if I don't play it through because I don't want to get in trouble. Okay, so let's turn this up. So as you can see, the TCL is a little bit brighter than, well, it's a bit brighter, right? And as you saw, this is default and it's in Filmmaker mode. All of them, both of them are. But I'll tell you, so you guys can see the shadow detail. It's all there, right? There's no black crushing. And the contrast is all there. So here's what's interesting. I was playing with this earlier. And as you can see, so the TCL has a bit more red saturation than reference. And the Sony Bravia 9 matches reference a bit more in terms of the red saturation. So I'm wondering, go to picture settings. I want to see if this, oops, wrong one, color. So as you can see in native, that color saturation kind of, it's not as oversaturated. So I was just playing with that. But normally I tell you guys just leave it in auto because it's not so obvious that it's off. Let's look at some skin tone close-ups. I'll put it back to auto. Because her actual skin doesn't look like it's oversaturated. It's just that red. It's a bit more red, right? In the lights and stuff. So let's see here. Here we go. It's a little close-up. Okay, this Sony, I wonder why. I want to make sure it's not. Yep, brightness is on max, okay. Let me turn this down. So the Sony appears undersaturated in something. So the reference monitor is accurate, the skin tone is rich. It appears that the TCL is a bit undersaturated now in red, so it's kind of funky to make sure I didn't change the color settings. Did I do something? So nope, it's warm 5. All right, color space is auto. Let's go back to native. Did that change it? No. So yep, I'll keep it on auto. Very interesting. So this is why you have skin tone test, right? So the Sony is a bit magenta and the TCL is a bit bluish green. Well, not blue, it's undersaturated in red. It's not blue or green, it's just undersaturated in red. The Sony is slightly undersaturated in green, so it's a bit more magenta, and then the reference monitor is perfect. So I'll turn down the exposure a bit so you guys can see that difference, right? There you go. All right. So let's go to extraction for some shadow detail differences, if any. I like this one. Also, skin tone close-ups. Oh, there we go. Okay, so here, the Sony crushed the shadow detail a little bit. So if you have a Sony Bravia 9 and you're in a bright room, that's actually not even reference, because look at my reference monitor. You see some shadow detail. What I have to do with the Sony, because I already went through this content, so this is my fix, right, for you Bravia 9 fans out there. You're going to have to increase the either the gamma. So let's say, for example, right? So a couple of clicks with gamma, and now it's up again. So gamma at max essentially brings back some of that shadow detail. Yeah, so, you know, just because it kills it in 1917 doesn't mean it'll kill it in Netflix. So the Bravia 9 is not all perfect, everybody. However, the skin tones match the reference monitor a little bit better. And this is where you might want to get it calibrated. So again, if you buy it from Robert, he'll calibrate your TV to make sure it gets some of that red back. But the shadow detail, for the first time, I'm seeing a TV out of the box beat the Sony out of the box in shadow detail without me having to adjust gamma on the Sony. So we'll put the Sony back to gamma at default. There we go. So this is a win for the TCL in shadow detail, but a bit, one step forward and then two steps back on the skin tone. So something, and I don't know if this will bother you guys, and I'll turn up the exposure a bit so you guys might be able to see the skin tones of the two TVs, right? But definitely the shadow on the TCL matches the reference monitor much better, near exactly actually. So TCL heard my complaints last year about the QM8K and the 9K having rough shadow detail, and they addressed it. So bravo right there. Oops, wrong one. All right. And we'll get to some of your questions in a second. I want to play through Frankenstein as well. Hey, where's my Frankenstein go? There it is. This one's great. Big fan of Frankenstein. Okay, this scene is just so impactful. It's got everything. It's got shadow detail. It's got color. It's got skin tone. I love how TCL rendered this, right? Again, as you can see, it's a little bit brighter, but in a bright room, I'm not complaining. So let's look at the shadow detail. It's all there. You go down and look at that. Man, that HDR impact is good. So, you know, are they already applying Dolby Vision 2 up mixing or up mapping to this? Maybe, because I'm getting some crazy pop here. So this one, definitely creator's intent. Look at the Sony. When they say Sony is a Hollywood TV, it literally is mimicking the Bravia 9, right? Calibration aside, because, you know, a little undersaturated in the green, whatever. But look at this scene. The gamma, the shadow detail perfectly matches the reference. Now, it didn't quite do it in extraction, did it here. The TCL, a little over brightening, right, near the dark areas. Not unpleasant, but those of you who want out of the box creator's intent, the Bravia 9, definitely still the way to go. So, just have to show you that, right? Look at how well that Sony tracks the BVM. So if you guys have a Bravia 9, man, no shame. And if you want that 3D pop, get the TCL. You're seeing the 3D pop right here. This is one of my favorite Netflix movies of last year. Here we go. Let's look at the shadow detail here. All right, pause right there. Okay. Oh, both TVs do such a great job here. So I'm going to turn up the exposure for you guys so you can see all the shadow detail. Oop, here we go. Okay. And both TVs do a great job, right? Look at that. All the details are there. It's just, it feels like the X11L is definitely out of the box. They designed it to be watched in a bright room. Like in this room, no complaints. In a dark room, you're going to have to get it calibrated if you want that true creator's intent. And all right, let's see what you got. What questions you guys got? When you push down the exposure, the TCL matched the reference. Did it really? Come on, did it really? The TCL, again, look guys, look, everything is there. Most of you in a bright room will not care because this looks great. Now, in a dark room, yeah, you might say, oh, you know what, it's a bit brighter. I know the reference should be darker. I get it. I'm not gonna argue, right? That's absolutely valid. But in a bright room, this works for me. If anything, you're gonna have to take the Sony a little bit brighter because it's accurate, but what's accurate mean? It means that the BVM 3110 was graded in a pitch dark room. That's why the Bravia 9 exists. Now, if I took the Bravia 9, you know, just to give Sony some love here, and put it in a different setting, like, I don't know, cinema, right? It's a little bit brighter. See the difference? Boom. Because in cinema, you can match it to your home setting. So you don't have to be stuck in professional mode on the Sony either. You can have, so when you get it calibrated at Roberts, you can tell them, hey, in cinema mode, I want it to be for a bright room. And it'll look like, well, it won't look like the TCL, but the gamma will match the TCL where, you know, they're raising the brightness in the shadow detail a touch for a brighter room. So let's put it back to professional. Professional means what? BVM, end of story. Cinema means, hey, have fun with it, like TCL style. They should call cinema TCL. Actually, isn't that what they should do? Because it's owned by TCL and Sony, the new Sony TVs for 2027, instead of calling it cinema, call it TCL mode. You heard it here first. TCL mode. I love it. And vice versa, instead of filmmaker mode, they should call it Sony mode, right? Come on. I'm gonna have fun with this. If you're gonna own it, really own it, right? The word filmmaker mode, to me, it's just bogus. No one cares, really. Sony doesn't even use the word filmmaker mode, and they are the filmmaker, right? All right. So let's see what other special content I have for you guys. So some conclusions real quick. Skin tones on the TCL feels like it's undersaturated. A touch, definitely. If you have it calibrated, that should address it. And let's see what else is on this list. I think I have, we all love Lucifer. Let's see, Stranger Things. I think, go. I mean, look at that pop. So let me take the exposure down so you guys can see the detail here. Oop, actually, there we go. Man, see, these scenes, forget creator's intent for a second. This is the pop. Okay, so this is kind of like my rant. The creators, when you're doing HDR, don't make it SDR. Really make it HDR. So in movies like Stranger Things, TCL has taken that editorial approach. Yes, it's in filmmaker mode, but still, right? They kind of took it into their own hands and just made it pop. So this is the pop I'm talking about. Look at the lava on the bottom. Look at that highlight, right? This is a science fiction movie. You want that pop. And that's why I'm using Stranger Things, so you guys can see what that pop looks like, right? I mean, like, look at that. Come on. Stranger Things. Who's going to say, oh, I want creator's intent for Stranger Things? Skin tone accuracy, get that, and then get the pop, right? I mean, this is the, let me even catch. Oop. Here we go. As we get closer, here we go. Oops. All right, look at that. Oh. What happened? What? I thought Netflix caught me. They're like, oh, FOMO's streaming. Let's shut him out. Oh. Okay, here's another. All right, here we go. Okay. Again, right? HDR pop. Look how much brighter it is. Not because it's bigger. I know bigger feels brighter, but it is actually brighter. And for shows like this, where I think, you know what, let's have fun with it, I'm fine if it's brighter than normal. In other scenes, maybe not. Like this one. Here's a good one. Oh, boy. Here we go. Boom, right there. Right? This is where you want it to pop, just a touch. But the detail's all there. It's just, look at that. It's just a bit more mighty on TCL. So once again, it is slightly brighter than reference. That's why I have the reference there. Otherwise, you guys would accuse me of, hey, TCL's better because it's brighter. Professional mode on the Sony is just matching the BVM. And there's no perfect TV, by the way. Just making sure you guys see the contrast, the comparisons, and most importantly, what do you like out of the box? Hey, thank you for the super chat, Jessica's. I'll put this out. I have an LG Z3. I accidentally removed the warranty label. Should I replace my TV? Jessica, if it's still working, enjoy the TV. So if it's not working, so whether the warranty label is there or not, if the TV is still working, just watch it. The Z3 is an OLED TV. It's amazing, right? The 8K is irrelevant, but it's a great TV. I wouldn't sweat it. Don't get the, now if you want an excuse to get a 97-inch LG, go for it because of the size increase. Or you want a super bright TV like the G6 this year, go for it because it's brighter than the Z3. But otherwise, if you love your Z3, don't fear the Reaper because you removed the warranty label. Okay, and I think I had some anime ready to go, but apparently it disappeared. Oh well. Let's look at Demon Slayer. Everyone's favorite anime, right? I mean, it's only HD, but let's see how the color is. Oh, here's a good. It's just, okay. I think anime works really well on the TCL. Here we go, right? That's the full color of the TCL, right? It pretty much, it's pretty accurate. I'd say I'm very happy with the color accuracy on the TCL. The over brightening is not an issue if you watch Netflix and whatever. If you're a cinephile, something to consider, you might have to get it calibrated to make sure it can be calibrated down. But other than that, this is perfect for anime, in my opinion. Actually, let's look at, here we go. I mean, look at that. Oops, let's go the other way. There we go. Okay. Phenomenal. There. Okay. So no, it's not blooming. That's just how bright it is. And there's some color there. It's not pitch black. It's just my sensor doesn't have the dynamic range to capture all of that. But yeah, I think if you love anime, I would definitely get the X11L because the color saturation, it's great. So I don't know why the skin tones on people, it doesn't look as good. I don't know. Oh, here we go. Here's a close-up of his skin tone. It's like solid. Skin tone looks pretty good. Well, okay, both of them looks undersaturated compared to the reference monitor. So not perfect, right? The little calibration love will get you there. Very nice. Okay. And Ignacio, oh, there you go. Please review firmware LG G5. Did it fix Dolby Vision? The answer is yes. I'll just tell you right now, they fixed it. As far as the shadow detail, now they have yet to like fully address the posterization in non-Dolby Vision content, but the Dolby Vision stuff that people complained of, which was there was some weirdness near black, it appears to have been addressed. It is not crushing the black anymore, if that's what you're talking about. So, all right. Cinephile as opposed to fakeophile. Well, cinephile, right? You guys want accuracy out of the box. You don't want to calibrate your TVs. You just want it there ready to go. That's a cinephile. And okay, you know what? I think it's a good time to let me know if you want any other content or anything specific. I'm going to go into gaming real quick. Just check out motion. I'll tell you right now, I didn't see any issues with the motion. But then again, I'm on a PS5. I'm not so. A couple of things, context. When I'm doing the motion, it's on a PS5. It's with Black Myth Wukong, so most likely it's 4K 60. I'm not doing 120 plus. But the complaint to me was that there was motion ghosting in 4K 60. So just because I don't see it in 4K 60 doesn't mean you might not see it above 4K 60. Because again, PS5, right? 4K 60 is about as fast as it gets. So if you're a PC gamer, get yourself an OLED, right? Don't deal with, oh my God, I have ghosting. Every TV has a compromise. Choose your poison. Get a 97-inch, 83-inch OLED, and then you've eliminated. You got a perfect pixel response, right? All right. All right, and Ahmad, hey, thank you for the super chat, my friend. Oh, thank you for your generosity. Can't believe I missed that super chat. Hey, and if you guys don't know, Ahmad and I have been going back and forth on what TV he should get. I think Ahmad got the Bravia 9 85-inch for a steal. Sorry, just came in, what did I miss? Essentially, BT 2020, overhyped. Both TVs, same color saturation. You couldn't tell that the Bravia 9 didn't have BT 2020, and this is using Jennifer Gala's BT 2020 material on YouTube. Now, how much of that translated on YouTube is another matter, but essentially it doesn't make a difference. We also looked at the colors on outside of YouTube, went on Netflix, right? Frankenstein, Extraction, the TCL, slightly better shadow detail, but then on the Sony, you just have to go into either cinema mode or just increase the HDR gamma. You retrieve all that shadow detail back anyway. But the skin tones on the Sony is the most accurate. It more consistently matches the reference monitor. The TCL slightly undersaturates skin tone, but doesn't mean you cannot fix it in calibration. So up to this point, I think why you get the X11L is this. Out of the box, it is punchy and bright HDR content. It rises above what the Bravia 9 can do, if that's important to you. However, the Bravia 9 consistently matched the brightness requirements of the BVM. TCL is just a little bit brighter than that because it has to flex. I guess, why do you have 10,000 nits if you're not flexing 10,000 nits? And with that argument, I agree. Like, well, why did you make a 10,000 nit TV? And it has Dolby Vision 2 to continue that flex. Otherwise, the QM7K is fine, which is what I said last year. Like, why are you getting the QM8K or the QM9K? Get the QM7K, heck, get the QM6K, because they're bright enough for the content we have today. So if you want to flex, the X11L will flex beyond what the Sony can do. If you want accuracy of all content, nearly all content, the Sony, consistently, you don't have to play with the settings. Out of the box, right, it hits it. So at this point, actually, we should be able to conclude this. Where the TCL fell behind last year, even with the QM9K from the Bravia 9, they addressed it. They definitely, in terms of the specs that are technical obstacles, they've matched or beat Sony. They still need to work on skin tones, and that makes sense why they are merging with Sony. Had the X11L also had skin tones, I'd be asking myself, why do you need Sony? And I think that's why they acquired Sony. Now they're in year 5 of trying to hit the high end, right? I mean, ever since 2021, when they started going, hey, we're going to go for Sony, we're going to go for Samsung, they've struggled with skin tones, right? Too red. Now this year is slightly undersaturated. They still can't get that perfect skin tone. Sony is closer to the reference monitor, and they're like, you know what? Why are we beating ourselves up? Let's just take Sony's magic. We're done. And that makes sense. Because again, if the X11L hit those skin tones, why acquire Sony? So I think there's definitely some reason to that. So Ahmad, this is where we are. We're going to go into gaming next if you guys don't have any more questions. Gaming, it's only PS5, so it's not like I'll be doing some pixel response measurements or anything. It's just my subjective feel. Is the X11L good enough for a fast action first-person shooter, kind of a first-person shooter like Black Myth Wukong? All right. And Ernie asks, thank you for the super chat, Ernie. Just hopped in. I'm also not sure if this got brought up, but at 85 inches, would you go Bravia 9 or X11L? Also, which is better for upscaling? Okay, so you know what? You bring a good point about upscaling. Let's do that. I don't know. Let's watch some free live, so we're gonna go to live, right? This is the Google Free TV. And as we know, the feed is terrible, low bit rate. It requires both upscaling and low bit rate processing. And let's see, SNL Vault, like nothing needs more upscaling than an old Saturday Night Live video. All right, here we go. Now, unfortunately, the 65-inch is a bit smaller, and I'm going to tell you this. I need to activate the feature on the Hisense called, I think it's under Clarity, Super Resolution. There we go. Because it's a larger TV, so the 85 and 98 inch, I turn on Super Resolution. And can I do, precision details only for Dolby Vision. Got it. Noise reduction a little bit low, noise reduction. Digital noise, let's put it on low. And I'm not going to touch the sharpness because I think the Super Resolution should be doing that. And I'm not going to touch gradation, right? That's not an issue. All right, so let's see where we are here. And I can't pause. All I can do, actually I should lower the brightness. It's a bit bright, so turn that down. It's down to 50 because it's SDR. SDR is not that bright, right? And still a little bit bright. Okay, interestingly, in SDR, the X11L matches but again, broadcast TV, what are you gonna do? All right, let's go forward a decade, anger management. Oh, I'm wrong. Let's see, home improvement, another 90s classic. It feels like, okay, the problem is the Sony's smaller, but it does feel like the Sony, so it's not apples to apples, because 65 to the 85, obviously the 65 feels like it's just a little bit sharper. So I feel there's more detail in the Sony, and I didn't touch the Sony at all, right? It feels like the Sony has better detail than the X11L. But at 85 inches, would that still be the same? Don't know. This is not a good comparison because I need another 85 inch. So back to your question. If they're both 85 inches, which would you go? If upscaling old TV shows are important to you, you really have to have them side by side. Both of them, right? The 85 and the Sony. And then that would answer your question because I'm getting a bad feed, same feed, split between the two. But it's unfair to say at 85, Sony would do better. So Here's a more modern one, Kim's Convenience. So this one, they both look great. So if you don't go far back into the past, a 2000-ish show in HD is fine. So there's not an issue in HD. And again, if you find that skin saturation is an issue, you might want to do the touch-up calibration for electronics with the TCL. Otherwise, it does feel a little undersaturated. And I would do the same for the Sony, by the way. The Sony also has some issues with its skin saturation. It has a bit too much of a magenta. But neither of them match the saturation of the BVM. They're both undersaturated. Don't know why. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Oh yeah, gaming. We're gonna go gaming next. Put on your favorite television show, Columbo. You know, let's see. If I didn't have it, maybe it's on classic TV. Here we go. And we might get lucky. Let's see if they have a Columbo channel. Family Affair. I'm sorry. You got all the other, I mean, you got Carol Burnett before Columbo. Come on. Come on. You know what? Is Little House on the Prairie close enough for you guys? Oh, actually, they totally remastered this because the resolution is nearly identical. I can't believe they remastered Little House on the Prairie to be upscaled like this. So this is very fun. So both look great. Yeah, definitely watch the classic TV channels. Okay, so that looks awesome. Let's see, Leave It to Beaver. Okay, upscaling is great. Details are there. Definitely they upscaled all of that. Death Valley, Carol Burnett Show, Family Affair. Okay, unfortunately, no Columbo, my friends. No Columbo. So Ocean View says, I'd wait until the 2026 models release before buying the Bravia 9. So what I'm going to tell you is that the Bravia 9 is at its deepest discount. Any 2026 model that's releasing is going to be way more expensive than Bravia 9. The question is it that much better? I will tell you right now, for the shows that I'm seeing, Netflix, Prime Video, even Jennifer Gala's stuff, I don't know. Other than going OLED to get infinite contrast, I don't see why. Like, I don't know how much better RGB mini-LED can get, only because it's matching, it's matching, both TVs are so close to the reference monitor. Like, what, is RGB mini-LED going to be even more accurate out of the box? Doubtful. So it'll be interesting once I get RGB mini-LED in here from Sony as well. Like, it's a, and I'm going to make up the price. I don't know what the price is, but like $10,000. Like, dude, the Bravia 9 is like, our friend Ahmad, he got for like $1,600, 85 inches, nearly brand new, right? Open box, one strap broken. It looks phenomenal. So, yeah, come on. I think we're at a point where you're not going to see a huge difference. Now, if there's certain content that does look different, you know, we'll tell you. We'll have a comparison. But right now, I just don't see it in theory. Okay, here's a good question. Asaf, another regular. S90F, $1799 now. So that is my favorite TV, OLED of last year. 77 inches, S90F is $1799, or the LG C6H, which is also 77 inch using the primary RGB. I would go with the S90F, mostly because I like Samsung's processing on the QD OLED better than LG's processing on its primary RGB. Just because it's primary RGB, it doesn't make it better than the S90F. It just makes it better than last year's C5. And the C6H, I've been told, I mean, we'll confirm, it's going to be slightly less bright than last year's G5. So the C6 isn't about brightness. I mean, it is definitely brighter. It's about the new processor addressing a lot of the issues that the C5 had, except a bit brighter. Well, the S90F never had those issues to begin with. And it's, to me, more than bright enough, right? It matches the prior year's flagship S95. So you're getting, and Samsung, thank you Samsung, has restored HGIG. So HGIG is back on all the Samsung models, good to go. And I spoke to Class C. It is accurate. It is as HGIG should be. They listened. They got all the specs down. So Samsung is back on my I love you list as far as awesome TVs to buy. And at this price, don't wait till Black Friday. Get this now, enjoy the heck out of it. And the C6 doesn't benefit from the 5-year warranty anyway, like the G series does, right? So unless you like the magic finger waving it around and the thing moves all over the place, or unless you like WebOS specifically, or unless you're waiting for a feature that is unique to the LG. If it's just image quality or gaming, I think the S90F nails it more often than not, especially when compared to LG C6. G6 remains to be seen because that's their star. Let's see if they can beat or match Samsung's processing. Because Samsung processing, I would put it right up there with Sony right now. Sony is great for skin tones and color processing. Samsung, low bitrate processing, right now is number one. Upscaling, I mean, for them to be able to fix posterization and Sony and LG not be able to fix it on the same panel, WOLED, to me, they deserve that win in 2025. And Panasonic couldn't fix it either. So, yeah. Let's get real, guys, right? Is everyone here a billionaire? It's a freaking $10,000 TV. Okay, so let's get to the real content of pricing and let's see. There we go. Okay. So TCL street pricing is going to match the flagship G series G6 or Samsung's flagship S95H, plus or minus $100 when all is said and done for similar sizes. So 75 will match the 77, 85 will be similar to the 83, and so forth, right? Wait, yeah, there will be a 75 eventually, nearer to the end of summer. The 85 and the 98 are launching first, and there is no 98. So the 98 probably will keep its premium until the end of summer. But the 85 at least, whatever the G6 is at 83, by midsummer, the TCL will be the same price, if not maybe a couple $100 cheaper. That's what you want to keep in mind. But then at that point, I know you're saying, well, then I should get the G6. Maybe you should. So that's a different comparison, right? But you know, people are buying G6s, and G6, so what's the price going to look like? The 83-inch, probably $6,000. Not chump change, right? You know, maybe not $1 million or money, but yeah, you're going to have some discretionary income to get a $6,000 TV. And here we go, FOMO, any news on the Samsung Penta Tandem QD OLED? So that's what we were shown at CES. The S95H is using the latest Penta Tandem QD OLED. All the specs match up. They're just actually marketing what they're using on the 2026 OLED TVs. Oh, gotta get off of this. I don't want to get in trouble for that. All right, here we go. We'll just run Jennifer Gala a bit as I answer your questions, and then we'll go into gaming. I want to make sure I answer all of your questions there. And if there's any delay, it's because, oh, should I watch myself? That'd be kind of weird. And if you're wondering what content it is Jennifer Gala's channel. Thank you, Jennifer, for letting us use your content. She may still be here. If you have questions about the content, go ahead and ask in the chat, and she'll answer like, hey, is that really that bright red? She's the one that graded it. She'll let you know. Okay. So yes, the Samsung Penta Tandem QD OLED is what we saw in the S95H. The specs match up. It's new for 2026 because it's brighter, but you're not going to notice the difference watching Netflix. So again, the difference between the S95D, let's go back 2 or 3 years, and today's S95H, other than the anti-glare matte screen being slightly better, the S95D watching Netflix will be indistinguishable from the S95H. Now, if you're watching Jennifer's content where you're showing off brightness, yeah, it'll be slightly brighter to get to that peak brightness. But other than that, in regular content, it's indistinguishable. As you see here, the Bravia 9 looks great, right? So get the cheaper TV or get the TV that you enjoy the brand experience. Okay. President Day sales. You got President's Day sale, you got Valentine's Day sale, you got the Leprechaun Day sale, right? I mean, it doesn't end, does it? Mother's Day sale. I love it. Now, the best sale of the year, though, before Black Friday is always going to be Prime Day. Why is that? Prime Day is somewhere in the middle to late summer, and this is when they get rid of all of last year's inventory, right? So things will sell out on Prime Day, the good sizes, the better TVs. So shoot for Prime Day or maybe a week before. That's when the sales hit across the board. So July, mid-July, end of July, and that's probably when we'll have our shootout as well. Just give me an FYI. And we're going to have our spring showdown event with all the best OLEDs probably in late April, early May. Just mark that in your calendar. Okay, wait. Let's just pause this comment right here. All right, I'm 45 minutes in and no accurate mode on the TCL yet for comparison. It's in Filmmaker mode. That is its accurate mode. Wait, did I change it? Is it in Filmmaker mode? Let's double check here. Yep, Filmmaker mode. And why did you change the peak brightness setting? Okay. That was because it was too bright when we're watching TV shows. So I just changed that. You guys saw when I changed it, right? Okay, so is this accurate? No, it isn't. Look at the reference monitor. That's why I lowered it, right? It's because it's to let you know that you can bring the brightness down to match reference. That's why the BVM3110 is there. The TCL is not supposed to be that bright. Now, it doesn't mean it's, you can't do it. It's just if you want reference, you're gonna take it down to 50% or 40%. So now it's at max peak brightness. Guess what? It's a bit brighter, that's all. I want it accurate. So here's the thing, Barry, and I'm gonna pause it right here because this is a great one to pause on. If you want it accurate, you have to get a calibrator. The calibrator will set it exactly as the BVM. End of story. I can pretend to make it more accurate, right, by going down, but I'm eyeballing it. I mean, I don't know, right? So, oh, look, it's slightly dimmer. But then does that change the color saturation? Does that change the contrast? When you bring the brightness down, it's a global brightness drop. A calibrator will do all the necessary compensations in addition to brightness, right? They'll take the brightness down. They'll adjust the contrast. They'll adjust everything to get as close to that reference monitor as possible. A single global setting, like 50 is probably closer to accurate than 100. But now, why don't you just get last year's QM9K? Because the QM9K is only this bright, right? Why did you get an X11L? So Barry, my point to you, why are you even interested in X11L other than maybe its shadow detail is better? But the QM9K fixed shadow detail. So it's very close now to the Bravia 9. Are you paying extra just for that shadow detail? Then just get the Bravia 9, right? So a lot of great points that you bring up, but then that's not why you get the TCL X11L. You get it for this extra power. That's why you get it. So, but it's interesting, Barry. Are you interested in X11L or why did you just get the Bravia 9, right? I mean, out of the box, it's accurate. It looks just like the reference monitor. That's why I have it there. So you guys can see for yourself what it means. There we go. There you go. See? Reference monitor. That's what it's supposed to be in terms of brightness. And let's keep this moving. There you go. Oh, let me turn this down a bit. I mean, look how bright it is. My goodness, this thing is just, whew. But yeah, at 50% or probably a little bit lower, at least the brightness be similar. But now I've thrown off the shadow detail and everything else. I mean, it's not a gamma type adjustment, right? It's just a brightness adjustment. So if it bothers you in terms of accuracy, you really have to bring in a calibrator at the end of the day. Okay, so does it beat the Bravia 9? It beats the Bravia 9 in shadow detail. It does not beat the Bravia 9 in skin tones. That's it. I think that should work, right? It beats the Bravia 9 in shadow detail. You saw extraction. Bravia 9, for whatever reason, too dark. I had to change the gamma on the Bravia 9, but out of the box, don't change anything. It beats the Bravia 9. But it loses to the Bravia 9 in brightness accuracy, and it loses to the Bravia 9 in skin tone. It undersaturates skin tone. So if you watched it 45 minutes, Barry, come on, man. Did I say that already? For those of you who are cinephiles, the skin tone's not there. You gotta get it calibrated. Please try again. Set the TCL default filmer. Okay, you know what, Barry? Let's make you happy. Let's do this. Picture settings. All right. Restore defaults. Okay, there we go. Okay, the defaults are restored. All right, and let's. You understand that a TV is supposed to have accurate brightness at 100%, right? Just so you know. So already, but you know, we'll do that. And the question is, so we're at default, and what is default? The brightness is, so you guys can see, 50%. So all this is off, right? Brightness 50%, everything else is default. And okay. I'm just playing with exposure, you guys can see the differences, right? Oh, this is a great one. All right. So now the TCL at default, out of the box, 50% brightness looks very similar to the Sony, as we said. You have to take the brightness down. And if it's too bright, you can take it down even further. So this is default out of the box, just so you guys know. And just so we are complete, let's see if it helps with the skin tone on where was it? Here we go, right? This is where I was struggling with skin tone, right? Let's turn up, there you go, whoops. Okay. There we go. And it's still undersaturated compared to, so lowering the brightness doesn't help with the color. In some cases, when you lower the brightness, there's more color comes out. I guess because if it's too bright, it will desaturate. But in this case, it didn't. So skin tones, definitely, there's a undersaturation of red compared to the reference monitor, and the Sony, a bit magenta, as we've seen before. Okay, I think that would at least settle that. And I mean, it's a touch brighter at 50%, but not as bad as if it was 100%. So just so you guys can see it, what would it be at 100%? Right, it's a little bit brighter. Let's go back to 50% again. And why I'm at 50%, for those of you who just joined us, it's because that's the default out of the box setting. So let's look at this specular highlight. So what's interesting is, here in this specular highlight, it slightly oversaturates the red, which I thought would happen on the skin tones, but it didn't. So, there's something happening here that probably would require calibration to truly fix. And this is at the 50%. I'll turn up the exposure for you guys. Oop, go the other way. There we go, right? So the shadow details are there. And it's very similar to the Sony and the BVM. There you go. All right. Could you try some real content again? You mean like Leave It to Beaver? Come on. Isn't Witcher real content? Come on. But let's see. Everyone loves the little house on the prairie. It doesn't get more real than this. Unless it's a TV show or it's like a Kim's Convenience. Let's turn on the exposure a little bit. Let's go the other way. There we go. You know what? It's right in the between my exposure settings. Yeah, again, both TVs are a little undersaturated compared to the reference. Just a little, not a lot. I think it looks fine. I wouldn't reject it based on what I'm seeing on live TV. And let's see, how about sports? I don't know if you watch sports in accurate mode, but there you have it. Yeah. Looks great. White points are similar. Look at the court, right? Court looks great, right? Details are all there. All right, I don't want to get nailed by the ACC. Okay, all right. And there are, I wanted some HDR comparisons. We had Netflix. I think the best HDR comparison really is things like The Witcher or Stranger Things, right? So if you do that, and you have these peak specular highlights like we saw, like right here. Actually, let's go back. This was good. Looks great. Shadow details are all there. I don't see, let me turn up the exposure so you guys can see the shadow detail. Yeah, shadow details all there. There's a bit red desaturation on both TVs. If you notice on the far right where the canyon is, on the BVM, yes, it is a bit deeper red. On the TCL, it has less of it. Sony has some, but it's also slight. I mean, both of these TVs will need calibration if you really want to match it to the BVM. And this is why people get their TVs calibrated, right? But other than that, if I'm looking at just shadow detail and luminance, the TCL nails it. Look at that. It's great. No complaints. This is actually a pretty good scene. But we know that Stranger Things are probably graded to no more than 200 nits. That's what I'm like, again, creator's intent, I get it, but I don't know, man. Any dirty screen effect on the TCL. So it's panel lottery. Just because mine doesn't have it or has it doesn't mean yours will or won't. And 85-inch versus 65 is kind of unfair because 85 normally has a bit more of it than a 65, just because that's the nature of the beast. And lastly, Sony has a system, a hardware calibration system that offsets dirty screen effect. So all panels out of the factory from the OEM supplier will have dirty screens, all of them. It is on you, the TV maker, to offset that. So you have little green splotches. The Sony has a IP, a patent where it's a camera. It takes a picture, a quick picture of the panel. It finds all the weird colorations, right? Discoloration, green here, pink here, whatever. It then applies a offset at the panel level so that now that green and orange and whatever, dirty, splotchy gray has been offset. And it reduces the dirty screen effect significantly. And they do this with OLED, with LCD TVs. That is another technology I want TCL to adopt. So it's not that Sony panels don't have uniformity issues out of the factory. They all do, right? Wherever they get it from, CSOT, BOE, AUO, it doesn't matter. Once they get to Sony, they then apply their patented camera, they apply the software, it automatically compensates and offsets for those splotchiness and reduces it significantly. No one else has it, and this is why Sony LCD and OLED TVs statistically have less of it. I mean, I guess some panels are beyond saving, but yeah. And let me turn this down a bit. Oh, I love this scene. I think the TCL looks phenomenal. And would I buy it? Absolutely. I mean, what I'm seeing now, this is the first time I'm going to say I would get this over the Bravia 9, mostly because it comes to 98-inch. If you're waiting for a Bravia 9 98-inch, this X11L finally fits the bill. And it gives you the extra brightness you want. But at 85 inches, save money and get the Bravia 9. It's actually cheaper. So yes, good point there. Okay. So what else we got here? Are you finding a closer match to HDR than the Bravia 9? It seems much improved over boost mode. So there is no content I have. I'm going to have to test alpha later because then I have to drag in my Kaleidoscape. I just put it there. I don't have alpha on disc. I do have the Panasonic, but you know, whatever, right? I haven't used my disc player in a while. I'll test it. I'll let you guys know, but I suspect it will. I suspect it will accurately hit 4,000 nits because the Bravia 9 hits it better than any other TV, but it's not 4,000 nit peak. It's like closer to 3,000, 2,500, depending on your TV and size. Ironically, the G5 hits it brighter in that 2% window than even the Bravia 9. So right now, the G5 more accurately renders the brightness of alpha than even the Bravia 9. I suspect the X11L will finally get us there, but I'm definitely going to test that at some point for you guys. I can't imagine how Dune 2 will look on this X11L. Absolute cinema, desert scene, are probably make my eyes blown away. 98 inches too, right? Yeah. I mean, this is why you want the 98-inch X11L. You were waiting to get the Sony Bravia 9. It didn't come in that size, so get it calibrated, right? Get the 98-inch, which is available now. Get the 98-inch from Robert Zone, Value Electronics. Say, hey, Robert, I want the full cinema experience. Calibrate the heck out of it. Just make it beautiful. And I think you'll have yourself a very similar Bravia 9 experience at 98-inch. Closer than you expect, for sure. Okay, let's see, we got some super chats left. And thank you, MTL, for the super chat. I didn't see your question. So if I missed it, I see you though. Let me see MTL. Where's MTL? Yeah, ask it again. I'm sorry, because sometimes if you don't include your question in it, I'm unable to find your actual question. So just keep on asking. And I will say, if there's no question, it's just a thank you. You're welcome. Maybe it's just a hello. Hi, Holder Max. Okay, let's see if I can. Where's my controller? Let's turn that on, and we'll see. Okay. Oh, here you are. Thank you for that super chat, MTL. Hey, FOMO, can you recommend me a pro calibrator around DC, USA for my new Bravia Mark II? The TV has a lot of potential, but I'm not happy with the current pick. So I believe that Classy, Cecil, he travels to the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, right, the DMV. Give him a call, and when he makes his round near there, he will include you in his round of appointments. So he has a channel, Classy Calibration Tech, I think, and yeah, reach out to him, and he will definitely schedule. Now, it won't be right away. He's going to have to include you in his rounds there, but he visits the East Coast, the Eastern Seaboard throughout the year, And I'm sure once weather gets better over there, he'll end up over there at some point. Okay, so yeah, the calibrators become less and less as the years march on because it's just not a lot of money in it. That's why he has to collect a bunch of clients before he gets there so that it maximizes his time and gives you, all right, so let's do this. And I didn't split it because I have it plugged in directly to the X11L just to test the motion. We already know what Bravia 9 is like, right? You guys all know. We want to see if this is good, and this allows me to have the HDR match the game mode, so I don't have to worry about proper tone mapping. I have HGIG on, and I have the high refresh rate option on. Here, I'll go through the setting for you guys real quick while waiting for it to load. Okay, picture settings. So we're in game mode, right? Brightness, 100, 100, black level, gamma, automatic HDR conversion, that's off. Dynamic tone mapping is off. Peak brightness on high, okay. And then, yeah, all of that's default. Haven't touched any of that. Clarity. Sharpness is on 10 for whatever reason. That's just the default. Super resolution, don't want to add, I don't want to add any more processing because that sometimes adds latency. Oops. Oh, and VRR is active, so there we go. Okay, and all right. And it's been a while since I played this segment, or it's been a while since I played Black Myth, so excuse my bad playing. I just want to check the motion, right? That's my defense. And it says it processes the DTSX according to the website. Well, there you have it. Okay, so let me lower the contrast a touch. I mean, lower the exposure just a bit so you guys, okay. I'm not seeing any issues with motion blur. Oh, looks pretty good so far. Okay. Sorry I'm making you guys dizzy. Let me go into a room where there is some red right here, I think. There we go. Oop. There we go. Turn up the exposure a touch more. Okay. I don't see any issues. I'm just kind of running through here for you guys. It looks fine. Most likely, I will die. It's been a while since I played this boss. Let me lower this a touch so you guys can see more detail. And he's gone. Okay, no problem with motion. I mean, obviously you guys can't see any blur because of the way my camera's capturing motion, whatever, but I wouldn't complain about the motion on this TV. It's in original mode. I mean, for console gamers, this is absolutely fine, I think, and the color's fine, right? It's all there. I mean, it's a great day when you could game. Console, I know PC gamers are their own beast, but when you can console game and not have to think twice about it. Okay. Yes, I agree. QD OLED generally has great uniformity. Just, now this is on, I don't know what Samsung is doing, but we see uniformity pretty good on Samsung and Sony TVs, and we think maybe it's a QD OLED panel that's doing that. So you had blur effect when you jump, I saw. Okay, so let me see. Blur effect. Well, I'll tell you. Let's look at the settings real quick here. Maybe I have it on, right? I didn't make sure. So here are my settings. Display, performance mode, motion blur is off. Sharpening intensity, that's not important. Okay, so I have motion blur off. Graphics mode's performance. So we have, it's all about the motion, right? Okay, and let me see. Oop, wrong button. Let's see here. Okay. So original picture, FPS is too cool, RPG is too dark, we'll stick with original. ALLM is on, VRR is on, shadow off. Let me see if I have motion. Frame rate, HDIG is on. High frame, you have to have high frame rate mode on to make sure there's no motion blur. Game sound, that doesn't matter. Theme style, blue. Okay, so there we are. All right, let me turn this up a little bit. There we go. Okay. No, I don't think it's, maybe the blur is from my, you know what? Let me increase my frame rate for you guys. Because I'm at 60 or 1/60th, let me increase my shutter speed so that I capture everything. So I've increased my shutter speed to 125 to make sure my shutter isn't capturing. Yeah, you see here's a problem. I'm at 4K 30. Unless I'm streaming at 4K 120 maybe, which doesn't exist, even 4K 60 or 1080p 60 streaming, I don't know if you can capture it. So I think the problem is it's 4K 30 capture of a much faster motion. So you're gonna have blur at 4K 30. So it's a combination of YouTube limiting me to 4K 30 on this stream. It's not Twitch. So yeah, you guys are wanting Twitch level responsiveness and that's not happening. But I'll tell you right now, there's no blur. It's fine. It's actually very good. I'm very impressed. Yeah. Any blur that's happening is definitely because of the 4K 30 frame rate of YouTube. Okay. Has OLED better or more intense colors in games? It has better contrast, just because let's say I don't have an OLED here, so it's hard to say what that difference is, but when you have this level of latency reduction, the TV is going to have to turn off something to get you that pixel responsiveness, to get you that latency reduction, input lag down. And when you take away some of that image processing, you're going to lose maybe shadow detail, some contrast, maybe color saturation, maybe, right? I mean, every TV is different. So it wouldn't surprise me if OLED consistently has better and more intense colors accurately, right? It's not overplaying it, but that's why gamers get an OLED. That's why we've always said, if you have a choice between an OLED and a non-OLED, and your priority is gaming, why are you even talking about non-OLED? Get yourself either the G6, C6H, or Samsung S95F, S90F, S95H. They will all look better. So generally speaking, that's the rule. LCD TVs just cannot compete with OLED when it comes to gaming for many reasons. Okay. Is it possible the blur issue is only with a 98-inch model, or is there likely not a difference between 98 and 85? So this is a very good question. Does the size of your TV make a difference? And the answer is absolutely. So if you haven't checked out ratings, I love your ratings. They did a comparison of different TV sizes and different performance metrics, and I'm going to use the Bravia 9, oh no, Bravia 9, Bravia 5 as an example. So the Bravia 5, 65-inch, was just torched by ratings, right? Oh my gosh, it's terrible here and there, whatever. But the worst sin was in gaming where you had motion blur, you had pixel response that was so laggy, and it was just a mess, like not recommended at all. Then they test the 98-inch and they're like, this is a different TV. Pixel response was much better. There was no motion blur. It was literally a whole other TV as far as metrics. It wasn't panel lottery. The performance improvement in color saturation, contrast, everything was across the board. So in the case of the Sony, going from a 65-inch Bravia 5 to 98, literally you've upgraded your TV, not just your size. And we have a 98-inch in the other room. I love that TV. And so if the 85-inch is awesome, does it mean the 98-inch is better or worse? No guarantees, because it's a different panel supplier more often than not, and whatever it takes to make a 98-inch work may not translate better, it may translate worse. TCL has proven, though, in the past that its performance appeared to be consistent from smaller to large. Again, ratings. Did some comparisons with QM8K. It looked very close, not a big deal. But here, we may have an issue, right? Because if you guys saw Display Guy's review, I know him, good friend. He immediately texted me and said, hey, FOMO, are you seeing this in your 85? I'm like, I'm not seeing it. He's like, oh no, maybe it's a... So now he has to decide, is it a panel lottery issue? Is this TV just broken? Or if you got another TV, you still have the motion issues he saw. And I asked him specifically, are you seeing it in 4K 60 or 4K 120 or 4K 144? He goes, no, 4K 60, unplayable. So for him, now maybe his eyes are a bit more sensitive to that in mind, but I'm telling you right now, this is no different than my other TVs, including some OLEDs, right? This is why I tested 4K 60. If you can do 4K 60, it's good enough for console gaming. Switch, Xbox, right? But if you need that extra oomph, OLED will get you there. But the 98-inch, I honestly don't know what the issue is, whether it is all 98 inches or just that one, or maybe he didn't have, and I haven't seen his video, I just spoke to him personally. Maybe he didn't have the high refresh option on, right? As you guys saw in my settings, TCL also advised me of that. So I said to TCL, hey, did you see his review? I want to make sure I have the TV in the right setting so that I'm not setting it up to fail. And they said, nope, make sure you have the high refresh mode on, which I did, and it's fine. So just double checking. I don't know if he did or did not, by the way. Maybe he did. So on the 85 is fine though, but the 98, yeah, don't know. Isn't that crazy that every size is slightly different? Nuts. Okay. And LP Romer says, Brian and others have said that an 85-inch Bravia 9 is a whole other animal. Is there any chance you'll be able to compare this to the 85-inch Bravia 9? I will tell you this. The 85-inch Bravia 9 is probably brighter than the 65-inch. That's been the consistent observation by people, right? And it wouldn't surprise me if it is. That in mind, that's all it really needs. Because the Bravia 9 65-inch I find to be awesome, just outright awesome. That extra brightness, not needed until I bring out Jennifer Gala or until I bring out Alpha. Oh, but there is a Jennifer Gala piece of content that I think TCL has yet to properly address. So I'm gonna show this one real quick. Let's get you there. Yeah, I should have shown. It's tone mapping bright scenes. So let's go there. This is one that the Bravia 9 has been untouchable in the past, and I want to see if it's still untouchable. I think it's this one. This is super bright, and you guys all know it's the storm scene, where in the storm, you have a super bright orange cloud. All the TCLs have not tone mapped it well, and so you end up with, oh, this is not the one. Oh, but let's just see the color. Just out of curiosity. Oh, look Look at that. They all look great. Excellent. Okay, so that's not the one. I think it's this one. God, I love Jennifer Gala. You have such great content, girl. All right, yeah, this is the one. So we're going to go here into the heart of the storm. I think it's this one. Yeah, there we go. So as it gets super bright, I'm going to pause, and you guys will see in this bright scene whether, there we go. Okay. Let's just start real quick right there. Okay. All right, it looks good. Okay. So far the TVs appear to match tone mapping. I'm looking at the reference monitor to see if I'm missing. Okay, this is a really good one. All right, so let me turn down my exposure a bit more. There is a lot of detail here, and there is a brightness difference between what the sun is and the background. And all the TCLs before, that bright sun, I'll point it out right here. Oh my God, I feel cramps sitting down. Okay, right here, guys. Right, in the past, the TCLs, that blurred into the background. It was just one blob, and only the Sony properly separated it. Guess what? The separation is actually here. TCL has done it. They've definitely addressed that issue. Here's another one. Another issue they have successfully. So the tone mapping on the TCL, oh wait, is it possible that it's better? Nope, nope, nope. I mean, because it's bigger, I can see the detail, but the Sony does have it as well. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to, TCL could not do these scenes properly in the past, and they're getting it now. Only the Sony was able to do that among all the LCD, mini-LED TVs I've tested, including Samsung. Only the Sony got these scenes down with all the, see, as I turn down, up and down the exposure. The details are similar. Wow, extra dimming. And now, how did TCL get there? Triple the dimming zones of Sony. So, you know what? With 1/3 the dimming zones, Sony used software to get there, and TCL, you know what? We don't have your software. We'll just triple the dimming zones. Hey, however you get there, right? It's like cars. You know what? I'm not using a turbo. I'll just use a V12 to get there. So bravo, bravo. And let's go down to this here at the beginning. Actually, you know what? There's one here. I want to make sure. Here we go. This one was also a bit difficult for TCL. I think you'll see it on the right hand of the screen. Yeah, okay. Yep, TCL's got this one down too. On the left hand, there was, oh, here we go. Another one. I'm just looking for that subtle detail where everything is bright. Oh, the sun. There you go. So that sun, if you guys remember, it's super bright, and only the Sony was nearly as bright as the reference monitor. 4,000 nits, right? Yeah, super bright on the far left. You have the subtle sun. That sun disappeared on all the other TCLs, including the QM9K. Not so. Look at this. Look at that. Nice. This is it. This X11L finally solved the bugaboo it could not solve before with triple the dimming zones. Hey, whatever works, right? So, and that's what you guys are paying for, honestly. So let's see, another 4,000 nit content. It's another hard one. Ah, here we go. I mean, look at that. Take it down so you guys can see look at that detail. Oh, wait. Wait. What was the brightness on this again? Oh, it was only accurate. You can actually make it even brighter, right? You go all the way up to 100, and then you suddenly have a brighter version of this scene. So, as a reminder, I took the brightness down to match the accuracy of the reference monitor. So there's headroom to go even brighter if you need to. So right. Oops. So here's another one. All right. This is like the best of here. So turn down the exposure. You guys can see. Oh, you know what? Let me turn. Part of the problem is, there we go. There was some banding. It's because I had it at a high frame rate to capture the gaming. There we go. Now it looks better. But look at that. I mean, so good. That was a giant blob before as well on the earlier TCLs. So here we're at 2000 nits. Obviously, 2000 nits is child play for these TVs now. This is 1000 nits. This is way easy for both TVs, right? But this is most content will not exceed 1000 nits. And nailed it. Right. If you see slight white point differences, it's my sensor. It's more sensitive to the Sony TVs. So the Sony will always look slightly bluer or maybe slightly greener. With actuality, in this scene, the white point of the TCL is closer to the reference monitor than the Sony is, but you can't tell with the sensor. That's why it's like, try to ignore color unless I mention it, oh, it's inaccurate or something like that. Okay. And Barry, very good point. Wow, that really shows that Sony's processing is like having a much higher zone TV. So imagine the money you save. TCL gets Sony technology, Sony software, cuts the dimming zone by a third. How much money does that save? Suddenly, your QM6K, how is that going to perform 2 years from now? I mean, yes, is that genius? You save so much money with software. So you still have to brute force to get that kind of performance, and so will cost more. Exactly. But they did it. So I have to say, at twice the dimming zone, they still couldn't do it. At 3 times the dimming zone, all right, at some point, if you add enough cylinders, it'll get faster, and it did. So yes, hey, you know what? They proved they can do it. Now, let's just acquire Sony and save some money. Don't you dare cut the dimming zones. But you guys are complaining. I'd never buy a $10,000 TCL. It's because it has so many dimming zones, it's $10,000, Tassando. So, you know, what are you going to do, right? What are you going to do? Now, remember, what TV we haven't seen, that's the Hisense RGB MiniLED. And to me, they've been the cinema TV to get because I felt their skin tones most closely matched the reference monitor out of the box, challenging even the Sony. So let's see if they can do it this year with the UR9 and the UR8, right? Those are the only 2 RGB MiniLEDs coming out of Hisense. And oh, Christian, hey, you know what? I didn't see your super chat, Christian, but now that you reminded me, I will look. Okay, so Christian, another regular. Thank you, my friend, for showing up. Let's keep this playing here. Oh, actually, you know what? You guys want Starfield? Let's, I got to show you guys Starfield, and I'll answer your question because these LCD TVs, it's all about the Starfield, right? I mean, we know OLED will nail the Starfield, but can, where's my Starfield test? Here it is. So I'll just let it play so you guys can see as I answer Christian's super chat. Oh, there we go. Okay. And I'm going to turn down the frame rate even further. So you might see some blur, but, and you see the kitchen because I turned up the exposure so much. You can see like the other side of the room and everything. And what's that bright light? I'm sorry, I'm going to have to pause this. That bright light is also bothering me. Actually, you know what? Let me just keep it playing while I go address it. All right. Okay. I know that's distracting. I don't want you guys to think, oh, look, there's an extra star on that TV that's not on the other TV. Okay. Okay, let's do this. All right, Christian, what is Pentatandem QD OLED? Whatever they describe it, it's on the S95H. So you're not missing anything if you're getting this year's 2026. It's their attempt to make things better. And, well, we'll see how good it is, right? We'll see it on the S95H. We will compare it to the, oh, here we go, stop right here. All right, as you can see, it comes out first on the TCL. Of course, it's on the BVM, not on the Sony. So right here is a win for TCL. They are not crushing the detail. They're giving you specular highlights, and I have my exposure turned way up. There's no blooming. I mean, there might be a touch. If it was an OLED, you'll see like 0 blooming. But this, I mean, the Sony has a little bit, but it's not as bright, right? The fact that you could see it on the BVM means that the Sony, if you could barely see it, it's not bright enough. And that's fine, because with not enough dimming zones, Sony has to control that blooming somehow. And so they choose to do it by pulling back on the brightness. And remember, the TCL is still at 50% brightness here, right? Yep, it's still 51. Now I can make those stars even brighter, turning up to 100, right? But it's accurate brightness at 50. So there you go. So right here, I'd say a minor win for TCL. Let's keep it running. When I saw they didn't have a larger size, I checked out. Yeah, it's not coming. Oh, let's stop right here. See the Sony. Okay, now much of the stars have come out on the Sony, but that's why I have a reference monitor over there, right? The reference monitor, if you could see it on the reference monitor, you have to see it on the Sony, because you can't say, oh, it's size. It's too small, I can't see it. That's how bright it has to be. There's more of those stars available on the 85-inch X11L that matches the reference, and there's definitely a few stars missing on the Sony. So this lets you know that Sony really is focused on black levels, shadow detail, and they're willing to give up a little bit of that specular highlight because compromise. You don't have enough dimming zones, you have great software. This is the balance I want. Perfect, that matches that TV. But when you have 10,000 nits and 3 times the number of dimming zones on this TV, you could start being more aggressive with that brightness. And so that's what TCL's done, and this is the right choice because I don't see blooming or ghosting. I mean, this is great. I'm hyper exposing the TV, right? So I'm not hiding the blooming. If it's there, you guys will see it. And it's barely there. I mean, in this ambient light, you wouldn't see it. Oh, this is a great one. So I'll stop right here. Okay. You know what? I'm going to fast forward to a massive number of stars to see if there's that clouding. Here. There's a great one for clouding. So, right, look at the black levels compared to the reference monitor. Very close. Both TVs. This is where the Sony really excelled, and it looks like TCL has matched it. So, bravo TCL. You are the only MiniLED TV to either match or beat the Sony in its strength by tripling your dimming zones without having the awesome software. But beginning next year, you will have access to that software. Where will you be then? Maybe at that point, will OLED be irrelevant? I don't know. I mean, those are fighting words. We'll see, right? But I'm very happy for TCL. This is pretty cool. Happy because now they have access to the best software out there, right? I mean, look at that. Oh, so good. Look, I matched the reference monitor. This is so cool. I mean, it took 2 years, but they got there. Impressive. This is like, I have to pause just so I could enjoy this moment for TCL. This is a TCL moment. Okay. And yeah, so like I said, QD OLED is not going to come anything larger than 77. As a matter of fact, if you want a 77, you better get it now. My fear is that's going to be gone because they're making more money on the monitors. I mean, just think about it, right? 28-inch, 27-inch, 32-inch. How much are those QD OLED monitors? What is the margin on that, right? Compared to a giant TV, much better. They'd rather sell you a bunch of smaller QD OLED and make a larger margin than low volume sales of a 77-inch where the margin is challenged. So if you want a 77-inch QD OLED, I say you better get it this year, maybe next year. In 2-3 years, Brian and I don't even think you'll have a 77-inch QD OLED option. That's our guess, because we're seeing where things are going, and we see how the volume movement, mass volume, It's just not, it may not be worth it for a Samsung display. All right. So that was a great one. Let me put it back. Home. Let me see. Oh, wait, let me see. At this brightness, the shadow detail and extraction, maybe I complimented it. Nope. It's still a win. And, oh, wait, here. I'm overexposing. That's why it looks like the Sony's got it down. Okay, here we go. Ah, well, and that's what happens. As you can see, taking the brightness down a little bit also brought the gamma down on, or the brightness down on the TCL Touch as well. It's still, well, you know, this is close, very close to the Sony, by the way, but not quite exactly like the reference monitor. Just so you guys see that. Okay, what you got? VegaMan83, thank you for that super chat. Has OLED better, more intense colors in games? Yes, mostly because LCD TVs have to disable certain processing, dimming zones. I mean, they have to do what they have to do. On average, OLED will give you better contrast, which makes games feel sharper in terms of the visibility of the details, and they could fully saturate, do whatever they need to do without any compromise, because they don't have to worry about latency. Because if you have all that processing on an LCD TV, you are going to add latency. But that's not the case on an OLED TV. Black Easter Egg, thank you for the super chat. I want a TV most color accurate out of the box for 720p SDR sports streaming. Sony, in my opinion, is the most accurate out of the box, but you still really need to calibrate it if you want it accurate. HDR doesn't matter. Should I buy the Sony Bravia 8 Mark II? Yes. So this is where the Sony won King of TV shootout, everything, right? Its SDR is very good. I mean, it is so good. It's so good that it thrusts Sony ahead of the competition. Now, once you calibrate the other TVs, they get a lot closer, but SDR is the Sony strength, and that makes sense. But without a reference monitor, can you tell the difference? Probably not. I mean, I feel that the Samsung S95F, I think it's a little bit more accurate out of the box. My Bravia 8 Mark II is undersaturated in green, so it has a magenta tint. It's not unpleasant, but it doesn't feel as accurate as the Samsung S95F. Same size, right, in filmmaker mode. So between professional and filmmaker on the Samsung, on the Sony you have Dolby Vision. So that's a different discussion. If you want creator's intent that was mastered in Dolby Vision, you gotta go with the Sony. But then you also have to probably calibrate the Dolby Vision on the Sony. Samsung, it's HDR10 or bust, right? And their HDR10 is very solid. So if it's just HDR10, I would choose the Samsung S95F. I felt personally, its color out of the box. Once it's calibrated, either one's fine, but the Sony still won. So, you know, let me know what you guys choose. Are the differences significant? No. Without a reference monitor, I don't know if you could tell, because only with a reference monitor, I go, wait, that Sony looks a bit magenta. And that's when I was advised, oh, it's because Sony undersaturated the greens this year. So the Samsung S95F, though, does not have that issue. I would choose the S95F. Now, the LG G5's got a 5-year panel warranty. But if you don't plan to calibrate, S95F, G5 has their... G5 is close. I feel the G5 has a touch of green. Sony has not enough green out of the box. G5 has too much green out of the box. Samsung S95F, Goldilocks, nailed it. So, yep, that's what I choose. And it's not because it's QD OLED or not QD OLED, it's just how it is out of the box. Because once they're calibrated, they're even closer. All right, we're gonna wrap this up soon, guys. And let me see, let's go to Frankenstein. There's some cool things in Frankenstein. I love Frankenstein for its skin tones too. Some great skin tones. I mean, have you guys seen this movie? Great skin tones. Like, right here. Yep. I'm going to turn down this. Okay. See? Slightly undersaturated in the red, which is ironic because TCL is normally known to be oversaturated in the reds, right? So you'll find next to reference monitor, the TCL may need a little bit of love in the calibration to get that red in there. So that's something to think about. But without, if I blocked out the reference in the Sony, oh, looks great. But if you're a stickler for accuracy, skin tones, definitely, it feels like the Sony, despite the magenta, is still more accurate. Here's another one. And this is HDR content. There you go. Okay. I'm looking for even, oh, here's a bigger close-up. There we go. Yeah, see that yellow sun on his chest? So on the BVM, you see more of that sunshine. You see it on the Bravia 9, it's a little desaturated on the TCL. But the old man in the back has it. Calibration needed? Yes. But it doesn't look awful, but it's there. Let's get this guy up close. Here we go. Let's look at his forehead here. See, the forehead looks closer, right? So maybe it changes with the brightness. As it gets brighter, I see more of that red saturation. Let's see this here. Looking for well-lit wall contrast. Oh, here's a good one. Look at that shadow detail on both TVs. Okay. See, I don't like these lens blur effect. I want more contrast, but I get it. This one's great. In this scene, they're very close. But still, so the wood looks good, but his face is a little undersaturated. So would I get rid of the TV? Of course not. It's so close. It's good. It's just when you put it next to a reference monitor, then you see why people get their TVs calibrated. Okay. This movie is scaring me. It's such a good movie. I love this movie, especially for testing, but it's also a pretty good movie. Stop lying. That picture quality is dookie on the TCL. Oh, come on, man. What are you talking about? It's there. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, it's great, but I'm not going to tell you not to get it calibrated, my friend. It's a good TV. I'm not saying it's not, but you got to point out the flaws, right? That's what it is. It's a phenomenal TV. But, it's kind of like you got a Porsche, you got a Ferrari, Lamborghini. They're not perfect, but you got to call it out as it is, right? Well, I'm going to tell you, oh, that's a perfect TV. Come on. Come on. All right. I think we can end this. I think we have some conclusions. The first question, is the X11L a Bravia 9 beater? I'd say yes. Specs, everything, it did it. You saw the star field, you saw the peak brightness, you saw what it can do, and it's there. Color accuracy can be fixed. But the stuff that the Bravia 9 could not do cannot be fixed. And that's why I say the TCL beat the Sony. Out of the box, Sony's slightly more accurate, but you could address that TCL calibration. You cannot address in calibration things like holding back on the specular highlights, things like holding back on brightness, peak brightness, right? Stuff like that, no amount of calibration is going to help you. And that's why TCL now is my standard for the best, until it's beaten, best mini LED TV money can buy. But if the Bravia 9 is on sale, both of them are 85 inch, and it's cheaper than the TCL X11L, get the cheaper TV. You're not, it's kind of like, at this point, get the TV you can afford. But I have to say, again, bravo, TCL found a way to do what it needed to do, but I love that the Sony's still relevant. So, yeah, so let's see, any last minute questions? Lisa, if you guys don't know, Lisa has a Sony OLED TV. And you're right, it's still not OLED. But if you need an 85 or 98 inch TV and OLED's too expensive for your blood, LCD might get you there. X11L is still a little expensive though. It matches the price of the G6 this year. But at 98 inches, maybe only game in town. But you're right, Lisa. OLED is great for all the content you're watching. Okay, let's see what else. Any last minute questions? Greatest Showman. Remember that specular hat? Yeah, I don't have it, unfortunately. If it's on Netflix, I'll put it on. I didn't bring my Kaleidoscape here. It's in the other room in the studio, so we only do what we can do. Let's see here. Turn down this. There we go. So I don't want to overexpose, you guys can see. But overall, I would, look, the TCL, if you're paying that much, get it calibrated. Now, if you wait until Black Friday, get all the deals, okay. But once you get this TCL calibrated, I think it's going to be awesome. Let me see, any other questions? We're going to wrap in 5 minutes, taking last minute questions real quick, checking all my super chats. Okay, all good. But let me know what, we will have OLED comparisons as the TVs release. We're going to compare this year's OLED to last year's OLED for sure. Is the G6 that much better than the G5? Is the S95H that much better than the S95F? Maybe the S95F is no longer available, sold out. So what does it matter, right? So we'll see all of that sometime in late April, early May. We're going to do that comparison. And then once all the RGB mini LED TVs are launched, we'll have RGB mini LED versus the X11L. I hope to get the micro RGB from Samsung in a similar size, right? 85 inches. See how it does against the SQD. The Bravia 9, I think we can retire the Bravia 9 now. You guys know it so well, all its strengths, all of its weaknesses, but I think we can now bring my new reference, unfortunately it's 85 inches, is the X11L. Oh yeah, TCL's like, hey, if it's good enough to be your reference, hold on to it as long as you need to. I'm like, oh no. I would much rather move the 65-inch Bravia 9 around, but oh well, it's what it is. It's what it is. So if that doesn't tell you anything, so I'm going to use for actual comparisons and benchmarking, we still need the reference monitor for color, but I will definitely now use the X11L as my reference for blooming, specular highlights, shadow detail. This beast did very well, exceeded my expectations, honestly. We've seen this game before, right? With the QM8 many iterations, then the QM9, and now, finally. Okay. Console games are blurry. No, well, if you compare it to an OLED, yeah, come on. Pixel response, latency, contrast. If you compare it to other TVs, I would say the best console gaming mini LED TV, or just best gaming mini LED TV, is Samsung's QN95C, QN90D, that generation, but it's not available this year. So, and then why pay that much when you get an OLED? But technically, the Samsung Neo QLEDs 90 and 95 series, perfect for gaming. They do the best. I mean, they're just solid, but no longer available. In 2026, it's now the QN80, right? Or QN8, I don't know. It's just not at the same level that it used to be. So you either have a TCL or an OLED. If you want the sharpest native, not over sharpening. So yes, LCD TVs, because of the lack of contrast, is always going to appear a touch blurrier. I mean, I think blurry is overstating. It's going to feel a touch less sharp. And what brand camera am I using? I am using a Sony FX30 because it's the only one that I can live stream for hours. It will not overheat. It's got all the lenses I need. I know exactly how to adjust the color to match what I see, and it doesn't add crazy banding, and it doesn't change like other camera sensors. Colors totally off. All the TVs is like so off. This one actually brings the colors more similar to what I see. So yeah, Sony FX30, love the camera. I highly encourage people to get it. I have all types. I got the Panasonic S1, 2. I have the A7 IV. I'm waiting for the FX3 Mark II, but FX30 is my work. I have two of them. FX30 is my workhorse. Oh, and the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 is my other workhorse. I use that camera probably more than the FX30. Okay. What are your go-to basic settings for the best Bravia 9 picture? Well, that's the beautiful thing about the Sony. It's default professional mode. This is why I always say, it's leave it and forget it. Professional mode, brightness, this is all default. You guys saw me set it, restore it to default. Auto local dimming, HDR medium, peak luminance high, color, expert 1, and it very closely matches the reference monitor. For cinephiles that want the creator's intent, just default, professional mode, expert 1, you're good to go. Play with motion. My personal motion setting, this is where people differ, so I'll tell you my motion setting. This is what I normally do. For me, I would go Cinemotion high, I like it on high, and smoothness 1, clearness minimum, camera smoothness minimum. I like smoothness film on 1, and that's it. Good to go. Hopefully that's helpful for you. What about the super duper quantum? They throw the word super in there. I see that it doesn't piss anyone else off. How don't you think we are? Okay, so they have to separate. So let me just talk about why it's called super quantum dot. They literally had to one-off the color filter and the quantum dot layer. They called Nanosys and said, hey, we need BT 2020 100%. And then Nanosys says, well, you need a whole new color filter because your color filter is for DCI P3 up to whatever, right? 100%, but only 80, 85% BT 2020. If you want 100% BT 2020, you need an all new color filter to match our quantum dot layer that will get you there. So they then had to call their color filter division and one off that so that it would properly match the quantum dot chemistry that was altered to get you there. And then that has to match the brightness, whatever, 9,000, 10,000 nits. And then together, it gave you near accurate BT 2020 color space. That makes it super. No other TV this year or prior years has access to this technology. This is a TCL one-off that they designed themselves to do this because they didn't believe that RGB mini LED is the future. Well, not ready yet, maybe 2 or 3 years. In the meantime, they feel this is how you're going to get to BT 2020. So that's why it's called super. It's not just, they had to give it a name. They could call it enhanced, expanded quantum dot, all would have been the same thing, right? Enhanced quantum dot, expanded. But again, this color filter and I spoke to Nanosys, that's why I know this, right? So they're like, yeah, no, this is very special. Only TCL did this. No one else asked for it. So now next year, will Sony have access? Obviously. So, you could have Sony. Is Hisense going all in RGB mini LED? Will they want to try the quantum dot thing, right? Who knows? But for sure, that's why it's super. But they could have used a better name. Expanded. Quantum dot would have been more accurate, I think. So, yep. But it is super in that no one else has it. Hopefully that clears things up for you. All right. All right, I think I've caught all of your questions, my friend. And we're going to wrap it up. Okay. New reference benchmark for MiniLED TVs is the X11L for now. It will go against the top flagships from Hisense and Samsung this year to see how long it could hold on to that, and Sony. Oh, of course. Sony is laughing. I'll tell you right now. They are secretly laughing, saying, okay, you beat our 2-year-old TV. We will see how long you can hold on to this crown when we bring out our next generation TV. That was 10 years in the making, right? With both software and dimming zones. I'll leave you with that. Until next time, my friends, stop the phone. Wait, maybe I just gave you foam. Until next, my friends, save money for the X11L.